Hello and welcome back to Taking Back Saturday, a Happy Buyers Club podcast where we break down the real estate market each and every Friday to help home buyers build confidence, follow a process and hopefully buy really happy. I'm your host, Chase Jones, and joining me back from the dead, a weekend spent doing things that are unspeakable.
Yeah, definitely not podcast stuff.
And visual podcasts is my mate, Sam Hunter. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me back, world.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, feeling 40% myself.
Nice one. Hey, listen, 40% Sam is pretty damn good.
That's it.
Mate, market wrap time. It is September 9 when we're recording this. It'll be September 12 come the release of this podcast this Friday. Man, it's hot out there.
Yeah.
The market wrap that we did on Instagram sort of spoke to that we had another 1.1% growth month on month, and that's, at least numbers wise, the basis of feeling like a pretty hot market.
Yeah, I would say we are back where we were kind of certainly through 2021, like the back end of the COVID, the market starting to really ramp up and everybody going, oh my God, this place is worth $900,000. It should be worth $750,000, and that house is now worth 1.3.
Yeah.
We're kind of there again. There's lineup at open homes. Auctions.
That's for anything sub 2.
I would think, yeah. And again, a lot of the conversation we're having now is probably that really first to family home market under $2 million. That is that typical 12 to maybe sometimes 15K radius of Brisbane City. It's what the majority of people who are listening to this show are buying in, and we're not going to tell you anything new. It is busy out there. You see loads of lines. If you go to an auction, the auctions are over in 6 to 7 minutes, not 45 minutes with a pause or here or there. Bids fly out there. We bid at auction on Saturday. I literally went to this auction on Saturday, then had to take myself home crook after that. And
it wasn't the result that did it.
No, thankfully. We didn't buy it, but we had a strategy that I thought was in line with the reserve and would have beaten out, call it 6 of the 8 bidders. And we weren't at the first bid. Someone screamed as soon as, before Paul Curtin, the auctioneer, even said, I'm ready for an opening bid. Oh, there was a bid there, which was at the reserve price, which was going to be our first bid. And I was like, wonder where this is going to go. And at that point, our strategy shifts to wait and see how the market reacts. The next bid was 30 grand above that. We went 20 above that. The next bid was 50 grand above us, which was beyond where our oh shit price was. And I thought, this is all just gone a bit silly here.
This is in the space of 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was a 4-minute auction. And I would say 2 minutes of that was the auctioneer looking around the crowd to make sure that no one else wanted to bid against the person who then went to 177.
But because people are seeing loose results, and like that is certainly a feeling that a lot of buyers are, experiencing. But it's not to say that clearance rates are, astronomically or unusually high, because I think that also a lot of sellers are seeing what is, some loose results out there and seeing big lineups, and maybe their expectations are still quite high.
I'd say that if you looked at clearance rates through July, they were kind of hovering around 60%, which is pretty epic for Brisbane markets, certainly, but we're consistently the highest clearance rate across Australia and have been for a really long time, and I think that's probably a credit to our market still being affordable for a number of people, not just the few, but also credit to the agents who run really good auction campaigns. They get their sellers ready to sell and they get the buyers ready to buy, and usually there is a meeting in the middle. The weekend just gone had a clearance rate of just under 80%.
Oh, right. Okay, there we go.
Which is just nuts. I wouldn't know the data historically, but I wouldn't imagine that there's many 80% market
new
clearance rates. Yeah, generally new high score, Brisbane. Well done. And if you're one of the people who missed out, that's a really shitty high score for somebody else to go and get. But it just shows you the heat in the market. I'm trying to think of another word to describe it, but I think heat is right. There's a bit of fear, and that's what's driving that, is that we've got to get in now. It's the start of another growth curve. What are we going to do? Brisbane never really had a stoppage of the growth curve. We kind of had a slowing of it for sure, but certainly we didn't correct and we didn't really flatline. It was just fair for a little while, and now it feels a little bit unfair again. And the trick for so many buyers out there now is, how do you manage that? How do you go to an open home every weekend knowing that you're going to have to pay somebody else's price?
No, and I think that's where I was sort of leading at with those clearance rates, which, 50, 60%, they're strong. 50% is a tick back from 50% in August is a tick back from where we were in July. But to hear. I didn't know that 80% stat until it so I'm a little bit taken back. Is that the new normal for September? Holy hell, like that's crazy stuff. We've probably been seeing a few properties that maybe don't sell on the day because there's those hectic expectations, but then there's a deal to be done in the days a week following. There's been plenty of that happening out there. But I think the crazy results that we're seeing, the ones where you see it, whether it appear in the sold section or you get the text to say, hey, this sold, I think a lot of that's coming behind closed doors. And it is leveraging that fear that you're speaking about.
Without a doubt.
The speed of the market and the fear of missing out and the fear of the market getting away from you are the three things that an agent is just, get in here, guys. Like I was on a call yesterday morning with an agent, best and finals, 12 o'clock, 21 offers. 21 offers. And like navigating that is tricky, and that's a whole podcast in itself, which I think we will do. But that fear is what's creating people paying a gap, which might not be there on auction day, and that's where you might see stuff. You're like, whoa! I would hate to think who was the second person in that list.
Yeah, I think if you're going to auction in this current market, expect to pay a premium price. But if it is called early, expect that is because somebody has offered something silly. And that, again, trying to think of another word to describe that, but I think sometimes there are silly prices out in the market. We see stuff that gets sold every day, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. We even saw one a couple of weeks ago. We were like, geez, that feels cheap. Like, I'd like to know the story behind that sale. That's a phone call we should make so that we're better educated than everybody else when the next one comes along. And that probably, I would say, at the moment, more than once a week, you look at a number and it's just a bit silly. And that usually hasn't happened at auction. It is, the behind the scenes where 21 offers, 6 offers, 9, doesn't matter, but you've got a group of people sitting around a very similar price, and then you've got someone else who's going, fuck this, I don't want to miss out. What have I got to pay? What can I afford to pay? I don't care anymore. And that's a dangerous place for a lot of buyers to be. Like, there's always going to be another house. Even in a rising market, yes, it might cost marginally more in 4 weeks' time than it is now, but perhaps that's a better decision than running the risk of. We've had a lot of conversations around risk and de-risking clients. We've got a client who's looking to bid at auction tomorrow. Their property isn't sold. We've said, hey, we'll find another one. They're working through that advice to see whether they want to actually miss out on this or not. We'll see how we go by the time this podcast come out. But for anyone listening who's ticked that missed out button on the Instagram on a Saturday afternoon, there will be another property
100%
that will suit you. And if you're seeing enough and you're going to openings every week, that's better than hope. Right? Even in a rising market. And it's just about learn where compromise sits for you, learn where comfort stops for you, make sure those two things align, then put your best foot forward. Yeah,
when those stars align, so to speak, you want to be in a position where you can move quickly and confidently, but without feeling rushed. Because there is certainly a tendency in this market where things do move quickly, listed on a Thursday, first open on a Saturday, best and finals Monday morning, to feel rushed. That is just is the reality of when things do move at that pace. There is a way in which you can slow things down. A lot of it has to do with preparing, making the calls ahead of time, but certainly making calls ahead of, being an hour out from best and finals to your broker, sharpen things up. Conditions are still important.
For sure.
In a market where there is maybe not 21 offers on a property in best and finals, but we are navigating against multiple other parties, conditions do matter. And we have purchased a fair few in the last month where conditions have done all the hard work for us.
Absolutely. There's 4 properties. One we put under contract today were $95,000 less than the next offer, but they were subject to sale and refused to put a sunset clause on there. So our guys were like, well, you're the next best offer. We want to go and buy something on the weekend. This is our expectation. We'll take that and run.
Yeah. And here, these are case studies in how much conditions can matter. And yes, it is different for every price bracket, but I'm thinking of an apartment that we bought a few weeks ago where we offered, where we were with a very short finance clause. We were given some information that there was an offer $20,000 above ours with offered 2 final offers, one being to match that offer in terms of price, but with a shorter finance clause, or stay where we are, $20,000 less, and be unconditional. Run the risk. When again, wasn't entirely a risk because we made all the right phone calls to brokers, everyone that we needed to get confidence ahead of doing so, and left it with the sellers. And I fully expected them that they might go with the higher offer, but instead they took $20K less for certainty on that evening. And that was a Friday night, happy days, and they cancelled the first open, the first Saturday open, which was the following morning, which had 25 people registered for it. So again, it can be done.
Conditions matter. And I think
getting ahead of it. Like we
it.
moved quickly and confidently ahead of that first Saturday Open to take it away from what is a pretty hot market.
For sure. If I give anybody who's listening some practical advice, so it's not just us rambling about results and data, it's one of the first things that we do whenever we engage a new client is we write down what an offer looks like with them, and we ask some pretty critical questions as to what do they need for a finance clause? Do they need that? Are they comfortable with waiving a cooling off? Do they know what a cooling off period is and what it entitles them to, and what penalties there might be if they do terminate on a cooling off? Who's their solicitor? Who's their mortgage broker? Can we get an introduction to all those, so that before we've even looked at a property, before we've picked up the phone and called an agent and said, hey, I've just engaged Chayse and Rach, right? They need a bigger house because they're bursting at the seams. This is their budget. They're ready to rock and roll. We know what an offer looks like, and the only two things that are missing are the address of the property that we want to buy and the price that we want to pay. If you're going to an open home tomorrow and you don't know what an offer is going to look like, or your terms are anything more than 7-day finance, 7-day building and pest, at absolute worst, call a building and pest inspector and ask them how quickly they can turn some around. Like Google suburb you want to buy in building and pest and get to know somebody in advance to make sure you can call on someone quickly. How quickly do they turn those reports around? How quickly can they book you in so that that clause could become 4 or 5 days? It might make all the difference. And call your mortgage broker and say, how come we have more than 7 days? And if I want to go unconditional on this property, can I? And have those conversations in advance, because then you won't feel so rushed on the weekend if it is going to best and finals. You might find yourself in a position where you can go and bid at auction, which, yeah, you might pay a little bit more if it goes nuts, but it's transparent. And I'm far more comfortable paying a premium price when somebody else sees the value in a property that's standing next to me than we are behind the scenes, kind of coaching our clients through where does it become uncomfortable and where does the line of value sit in our opinion, right? We've missed plenty of properties because we haven't seen value in it that another buyer has, and we look back on it and go, maybe we could have pushed a bit harder, but that's not our job, right? It's to give a hopefully educated opinion and support whatever decisions are made. So if you don't know what your offer is going to look like without an address and without a price, don't go to an open home. Figure that out first and make those conversations and understand. And like, we're making it harder for us to buy houses for our clients, right? By talking about this stuff so often, but it will make a difference in you buying a house or not.
For sure. Like the reason why we're able to, at the drop of a hat, like we know everything about these properties, we go through them potentially beforehand, but then also see them with a client on a Saturday. The reason why we were able to confidently offer on a Saturday afternoon is because there is nothing left to talk about other than price and the address, which we would know at that point, obviously.
Hopefully.
We frame it as ready to offer, but realistically, it's are you ready to buy?
Yeah.
Like, if you're ready to buy, have the answers to these questions, know what an offer looks like, know what making an offer looks like, so that if something does feel right and it does get real and the stress is high and it's like, oh my God, we've found it. The hard part is potentially already done because we found the right one. Now we've just got to land this plane. Being ready to offer and being able to offer well is just crucial, particularly
100%.
in the market we're in right now.
If you want an idea of what that structure looks like, let's see if anyone listens to this far into the show. Send us a DM on Instagram and we'll send you the template of what an offer structure looks like
100%.
that we use.
Man, we really are going to make it harder for ourselves now, aren't we? Awesome. I think that the price growth that we're seeing right now in September 2025.
Lock in, baby.
Yeah,
it's finals footy.
It is, yeah. Like from here to Christmas, it's not going anywhere. Like Brisbane is doing some stuff, and it has been for a while. But seriously, like we are in a awesome market. Have faith in it. It is the future. Go hard. The house is the win. Peace, Sam. I'm Chayse. Cue the song.